What is up, YouTube? Noezone here, and today we're going to be breaking down James Gunn's new DCU Chapter One slate. And James Gunn announced all of these projects in a video he posted to his socials, where he told us about the 6 movies and 5 TV shows that we'll be getting in the first chapter of the DCU, titled Gods and Monsters, which is a pretty fitting title once you see some of these projects I'm going to be talking about. But he also said this is just a portion of the chapter and not the entire thing, and I'm pretty excited to talk about a lot of these projects. So without any further ado, let's get into the breakdown. And we're going to start it out with the movies he announced first, with the first one being Superman Legacy. It will be releasing July 11th, 2025, and James Gunn said that this movie is the true start to the DCU, but it will not be an origin story for Superman. Instead, it will be about Clark Kent as a young reporter in Metropolis, trying to balance his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. And this concept reminds me a lot about how the character is handled in Superman and Lois, which is a huge positive for me, because that show is my favorite iteration of live-action Superman. James Gunn will also be writing the script for this movie, and he might end up directing it as well. Even though there are a ton of fan casts out there, a new Superman actor has not been cast yet, but I predict that there will be a casting before the halfway point of 2023, because production will most likely start at the end of this year, or in early 2024. Overall though, I'm very hyped for this movie, and I have a ton of faith in James Gunn to give us a proper Superman on the big screen. And Superman Legacy will lead directly into the next movie I'll be talking about, with that being a team movie titled The Authority. There is no release date for this yet, and this movie will be about a team of superheroes with a less than ideal approach to saving the world. It will also explore the gray morality of crime fighting, when some questionable heroes start to take matters into their own hands. And to be honest, I don't really know how to feel about this project because I have zero prior knowledge about this team, but I will say that I'm intrigued by it. And I think there's a good chance that this will end up being rated R, and being kind of DC's answer to The Boys, which could be a really cool way that the DCU could differentiate itself from the MCU by having a way more mature team franchise. But the next movie on the slate will be a Batman movie titled The Brave and the Bold. There's no release date for this one either. There will be another new Batman casting in it, and this movie will introduce the Bat family to the DCU. It will focus on Batman's relationship with Robin, who will be his son Damian Wayne, which pretty much implies that Nightwing and Red Hood exist in this universe. And that makes me super happy because Nightwing is one of my favorite DC characters of all time. And Damian is one of my favorite Robins because of just the dynamic of him trying to kill everybody while Bruce is trying to stop him, which leaves a huge opportunity for this universe to explore Batman's no-kill rule on the big screen like never before. This movie will also be heavily adapted from Grant Morrison and Tom King's runs on the character, and it will lead directly into this next movie, with that being a Supergirl movie titled Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. There's no release date for this one either, and this movie will focus on Superman's cousin, Kara Zor-El. It will be based on Tom King's comic run of the same name, and there's no true confirmation whether this will be Sasha Calle's version of the character or not, but my personal guess will be them recasting her, just because there are rumors that she's been removed from the ending of The Flash, so I doubt that means that they would want to continue with her version. And the last thing was that the movie was also described to be way more hardcore in comparison to the new Superman, which has me pretty intrigued to be honest. But the last movie on the slate will be a horror movie titled Swamp Thing. There's no release date for this one yet, and it'll be DC's first horror movie in this universe. It will focus on Alan Moore's version of the character, and I think if any project is getting an R rating, it'll be this. James Gunn also said that the character will interact with other DCU heroes, and that this will be an origin story, which is pretty exciting for me as a horror fan, and somebody that wants to learn more about Swamp Thing. But there's one more movie that I wanted to add to this, even though it's not connected to the DCU, and it's that we got a release date and a title for the sequel to The Batman, with the title being The Batman Part 2, and the release date being October 3rd, 2025. It will be released under the DC Elseworlds label, along with Joker 2 and the Black Superman movie, which is a pretty big W for me because I absolutely adore The Batman, and now we'll have 2 very different versions of Batman on the big screen at the same time. But now we're going to get into the shows that James Gunn announced, with the first one being an animated series titled Creature Commandos. It will release before summer 2025. The show will be about a team of military superhumans that will consist of Weasel from the Suicide Squad, Nina Mazursky, Dr. Phosphorus, Eric Frankenstein, the Bride of Frankenstein, G.I. Robot, and Rick Flag's father, Rick Flag Sr. And there's some other DCU characters that will appear in the show that will be voiced by the same actor that'll play them in live action later down the line, which is really dope in my opinion. James Gunn will also write all the episodes to this show, and I honestly think that this project could be a fun series, but it's really unnecessary to be honest. But I guess we'll have to see. But the next one on the slate will be an Amanda Waller show titled Waller. There's no release date yet, but this and Creature Commandos will release before Superman Legacy, and this will be a spin-off series set between the events of Peacemaker Season 1 and Season 2. Viola Davis will return as Amanda Waller, of course, as well as other members of the Peacemaker team. A Doom Patrol creator will executive produce, and a writer from Watchmen will write the show. And I think that this could be a pretty decent series, but if I'm being truly honest, I was never asking for an Amanda Waller project outside of the Suicide Squad movies. I hope it surprises and wins me over though. But the next show on the slate is a Wonder Woman series titled Paradise Lost. There is no release date for it yet, and this will be a prequel series series set before Wonder Woman's birth. It will take place on Themyscira, and the show will tell the origin story of the Amazon's all-female culture and society. While being very Game of Thrones inspired, I'm hoping that means that we will get a mature rating for this, even though it probably won't because it's connected to somebody in the Trinity. But from the concept alone, I'm pretty sold on this project. Plus, I think it's a necessary step to take before casting a new Wonder Woman if they do that, and I think it would be a great opportunity for world building in a rebooted DC universe. But the next show that we're going to be talking about is Booster Gold. There is no release date for it yet, and this show will be about the self-absorbed and time-traveling hero from the future, Michael John Carter, aka Booster Gold. James Gunn said that this will be a comedy series, and that Booster Gold is imposter syndrome as a superhero. But I'm honestly very hyped for when this show releases. Plus, I think Booster Gold is a good character to make a series about, and he is definitely going to become an all-around fan favorite, just like Peacemaker did. But this last show on the slate is definitely my most anticipated one, and that show is a Green Lantern series titled Lanterns. There's no release date for it yet, and this show will be a detective-like mystery series featuring Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, which makes me really happy that we're getting both of them and not just Hal, because Jon Stewart is my favorite Green Lantern of all time. The main inspiration for the show is True Detective, and it is aiming to be a huge HBO quality event, so hopefully that means it's going to be getting a hefty budget. And like I said before, this is my most anticipated show on the slate, but I can't lie and say I don't wish it was a movie. But I do have some theories that it will spin off into one eventually. Now to give you all my overall thoughts on James Gunn's DCU Chapter One slate. First, I think that having Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern projects all in Chapter One is a great way to kick off this new universe. Even though most of the other projects seem kind of unnecessary, I think I'll end up enjoying those as well, because I just have a ton of faith in James Gunn to do the DC universe right, and I absolutely love the fact that he's crediting all of the comic runs that inspire all of these movies and TV shows. It really shows a true love for the characters, stories, and their amazing creators. And my biggest complaint with the slate is that it just left me wanting more, which is kind of a good thing if you think about it, because San Diego Comic-Con is definitely going to go insane this year with James Gunn and Kevin Feige going back and forth with announcements of all of our favorite heroes. And man, is this honestly the best time to be a superhero fan. But anyways, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like on it. It really helps out the channel a lot. Make sure you share the video with a friend if you think they would enjoy it as well. Leave a comment on your thoughts on the James Gunn DCU slate. And as always, guys, it's been Noezone. Peace.